Recent research has found that 22% of people believe that politics could cause a conflict among their families over the holidays. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that number is so low. The concern is highest among younger generations. Around 38% of Gen Z and 29% of millennials were anxious about politics becoming a problem during family gatherings, compared with just 11% of baby boomers. Why do you think this concern is more of a problem among younger people? Do you avoid talking politics with family, or do you think there is a right way to discuss these type of issues thoughtfully without causing additional issues?
Well, I think mostly it's affected and impacted our culture today because people find their political identity as their persona more than the actual values or experiences in their own life. Like, hey, be a dad over being a Republican. You know what I mean? Like there should be certain things that you find valuable. Be an entrepreneur over being a Democrat. But now more than ever, because we could virtue signal this persona of who we are via our cultivated team, like because you're Team Trump or you're Team Harris. I think that's why, because it feels good to be part of the club or part of the tribe. And I think that's unfortunate because, you know, I think me and you are very good at this, where we're trying to kind of be somewhere in the middle as far as landing politically, even if like I'll be voting for Trump. When I say that, I'm not proud or I'm not embarrassed to say that. I say that because out of the two candidates, I think he's the better candidate, but I'm also not married to the GOP or feel obligated to some right conservative bias that's I'm not a MAGA guy. Let me just put it that way.
Do you feel obligated to tell people who you're voting for? Because I think that can tie right into these family conversations.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't at all. In fact, I don't want to tell people because despite, like, we have personal friends, we've experienced this, I know, in recent history, personal friends who felt obligated to tell us who they were voting for and were very offended in the fact that we were potentially looking elsewhere or didn't even want to entertain the conversation because we didn't want to be political. Like, it's not important. We're not weighing it as important. So I think a lot of people, when you go to the dinner table and you say, this is how I feel, you get emotional, you get passionate. And if somebody says, I'm not interested in talking about that, they immediately take that as a sign you're not on my team or you're not in my boat or my camp or my tribe. And I think that's the problem. I think we put too much attention in that pool. And I would rather live the life of like, hey, I'm dad life first and foremost, you know, want to raise my family, focused on my career, my profession, and things I hold true, preparedness, for example. And then, yeah, my political view is not who I am as a person.
Yeah, I've been at some dinner tables, mixed company, where, man, it went from, I would say, a good spirited conversation to people pushing chairs back and standing up and pointing fingers, not to get into the point of, well, probably threats of physical violence from people who are incredibly incapable of physical violence. So I found that to be more of a comedy than anything. But just this escalation of emotion, and it doesn't have to be that way. But I do understand people's anxiousness about this. And, you know, the best advice that I would have to somebody, whether you're a Gen Z or a millennial or a baby boomer, I'll be the first to admit I don't even actually know the delineation between those. I think you and I we're not millennials, but we're not baby boomers. We're something else. But set boundaries. This is something that I've been asked a lot about. And I know that, you know, people think that families are homogenous and they all believe the same things. And to me, when people think that or believe that or express that, it's like, I don't know how much time you've ever spent around families, because if they're any indication of my own, they're very diverse in depth of belief and the type of belief that they may have. Set boundaries before you get into these situations. I have had groups and individuals where before engaging in it, and I'll use an example because it's been a dinner before, I literally just said, listen, thank you for the invitation, but here's my hard boundary on this. I'm more than happy to attend, but we're not talking about politics. And if you do talk about politics, I'm just going to detach myself from the situation. And that is something that people need to realize. You can't give away your personal agency. If somebody is escalating or is trying to bring this topic up or is forcing it, you don't have to participate in that. And I'm here to tell you right now, Your family is more valuable than any political argument you are going to get into. So set a boundary and express that boundary before the event. And if you reach that boundary, just hold it. Detach and leave that situation. There are plenty of times where I've had conversations with people and they do want to talk about politics. And I can tell that they're going to get animated about it, or if they're not already animated. And I just say, listen, I'm not interested in talking with you about this because I actually don't care who you vote for. I am not going to judge your value as a human being based on who you checked on the ballot box. You're not my enemy. And my answer to people when they ask me who am I voting for is none of your fucking business. I feel no obligation to tell anybody who I'm voting for. And if they want to judge me as a person for that, go ahead. To me, that tells me more about you than than me telling you who I'm going to vote for is going to tell me about me. I don't care. You're not going to be my enemy regardless. You're still going to be my neighbor, a member of my community. And guess what? If you ever need help or your hand comes out because you need assistance, I'm going to be there to grab you and do the best that I can. You know, we don't have to participate in this shit.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Shop the new Freedom Capsule at bornprimitive.com.
Specifically, family at holidays, set boundaries because family is more important than these type of arguments.
Yeah, agreed. I grew up in a family where just politics and religion wasn't shared at the dinner table, not because we wanted to create some kind of obstacle to facing truce. It's just because we had better things to talk about. I mean, like people shouldn't feel offended because we're talking about family, community, like motorcycle riding and backcountry adventures is more important to me. Your latest hunt is more important to me than your political view. And I think a lot of people, again, forward-facing, want that persona because deep down they're missing something inside them. They've sought purpose in their own religion and their politics. And that's never going to work out for you. I mean, that's never going to work out because you're bound to lose at some point. And then what do you do when you lose, when your persona is something that you've identified with and you lost? If that disrupts who you are as a human being, well, then you better self-assess. It's like the next day you should just be able to get back to it. And I think when you go to the dinner table and you have this anticipation that it's going to be political, the best thing you could do is follow your advice. Set boundaries, eat, enjoy time with loved ones, and focus on things that are more important.
It's a wild time. Family gatherings are tough enough as it is.
Yeah.
Why add the election year to it?
I know, right? I know.
I mean, I hope that helps people. The fact that people can identify the anxiety, though, and what is causing that anxiety, I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
It gives you a recipe on what it is you need to attack. And I mean, I know people, and I'm sure you have people in your life too. Again, I can't control other people's behavior, and so I have to maintain my effort on what I can control. There are people in my life who I use like a seasoning very sporadically. And I will not attend certain things because I know I can't control the behavior and I'm pretty sure where the behavior is going to go. And I don't want to be a part of it. And that's the only metric of control that really anybody can have. And I hope that they understand that. You've identified the anxiety. It may be better, especially if you identify, like if you think it is impossible for those boundaries to be held, I would almost say consider not even going in general and find a group of people that you can bond with and share with and that can bring that level of purpose and satisfaction and share your time with them.
Yeah, don't ruin your holidays over politics.
God, that's going to be a large portion of what is happening over this particular holiday season.
It's going to be wild, man. I can't even, not in my house.
Same. And I don't know if it's worth it because regardless of who wins, And regardless if we can agree upon who won, and I don't even want to go down that particular rabbit hole, they're still your family at the end of that.
Yeah.
You know? So I hope people can find their way and navigate their way through it. What's going on, everybody? I want to let you know about an ongoing effort in Western North Carolina to help victims of Hurricane Helene and how you can help our friends at the Sentinel Foundation. The hurricane has displaced people around the region and destroyed countless homes. However, Sentinel is on the ground helping. They've been actively getting critical supplies to residents in some of the area's most isolated locations. They've been able to provide over 60 Starlink systems to fire departments, police departments, and churches so that they can communicate and coordinate for their communities. They've also organized both aircraft and ground units to transport and deliver donations. So far, they've accepted and organized an estimated 7 million pounds of materials and distributed about 4 million pounds to support the ongoing relief efforts. Sentinel has also continued to monitor reports of child trafficking, exploitation within the area of operation through law enforcement. To find out more about their efforts to help hurricane victims and their anti-child exploitation efforts, and to see how you can help, please check out foundationsentinel.org.